At my sister's wedding, the photographer kept calling out, "Family only for this shot." I quietly stepped aside every time. After an hour, it hit me, I wasn't in a single photo. I didn't cry. I walked out through a side door. 2 days later, my phone exploded with messages. You know that feeling when you realize you've been the invisible, overlooked child your entire life, but you just kept hoping your family will finally see you? Well, it hit my breaking point at my sister's wedding when I realized I wasn't even in a single photo. That's when I decided I was done being the silent background character. And what happened next? My family thought I was just being dramatic, but I was about to teach them a masterclass in quiet, calculated revenge that would expose their favoritism for the entire internet to see. My name is Drew. I'm 31 now, and I work in systems integration. I kept to myself. I've always been the guy who shows up on time, smiles politely, blends into the background, and never rocks the boat. I don't like drama. I don't post on Reddit unless I've got something to get off my chest, or something won't leave my mind. Right now it's both, because I just got home from my sister's wedding. Well, technically 2 days ago, but my phone is still lighting up like a Christmas tree, and I'm finally ready to talk about what happened. So, let me start from the beginning. I have one sibling, my younger sister Hannah. She's 28. We've always had a complicated relationship, though from the outside, you'd never know it. We grew up in a pretty normal suburban household. Our parents, Lisa and Greg, were functioning, image-conscious, and weirdly invested in the idea of a perfect family. But there was always this unspoken hierarchy in our house. Hannah was the golden child, the miracle baby, the social one, the one who lit up a room. I was the quieter one, the kid who loved computers and didn't plan. My mom would brag about me at work or to distant relatives. Drew just got promoted again. But at home, it was always Hannah's world, and I was just there. I didn't hold it against her growing up. I figured that was just how it was. She was cheer captain and homecoming queen. I was the guy helping fix that printer and doing up calculus in the basement. It wasn't like she was cruel or anything, at least not back then. We just lived on different frequencies. And I thought that when we grew up, maybe we'd find common ground. But if anything, adulthood only made the distance more obvious. When Hannah got engaged last year, I was genuinely happy for her. I hadn't met her fiancé, Matt, more than a couple times, but it seemed okay. Kind of bland, very corporate, but stable. Hannah said about him constantly. "It's everything he prayed for," she told me once, which was weird because she's never been religious, but he didn't say anything. She started planning her wedding with military precision. Every detail had a spreadsheet. Every bridal shower had its own Instagram filter. And from the first group text about it, I had a weird feeling in my gut. Not dread exactly, just unease, like he was already on the outside looking in. He was surprised when he wasn't scared to be part of the wedding party. Not a groomsman, not even an user. But okay, whatever. I'm not flashy. Maybe she thought he wouldn't want to rent a tux or be part of the group chat chows. I told myself not to take it personally. But then she asked our cousin Tyler to be a groomsman. Tyler, who once poured an entire bottle of Gatorade on her laptop during spring break. Tyler, who lives in Utah and only calls on Christmas. That stung a little. Then there was the rehearsal dinner. He showed up in a button-down and slacks, which he thought was standard, but everyone else was in coordinated outfits, blue and white, apparently a sim. No one told me. He sat at the far end of the table next to the DJ's girlfriend, who didn't know anyone. My parents were up near the head, laughing like they were auditioning for a commercial. Hannah gave a teary speech about everyone who supported her through everything. And I swore she looked at everyone in that room except me. Still, he clapped. He smiled. He took photos. He told her congratulations. He even helped her fiancé's brother fix his phone charger situation at the Airbnb, because that's what he do. I'm helpful. He don't cause waves. The day of the wedding, he showed up early to the venue, a restored barn out in the country with fairy lights, long picnic tables, mason jars, very painted. He wore a navy suit. He brought a card with a check inside. He double-checked the registry to make sure he got them something they picked. He even helped one of the older guests find their seat. He was just trying to be part of it all. To be there. And for the first hour, everything was fine. He stayed out of the way, took pictures of the decor, watched the photographer scurry around with two cameras strapped to her chest like some kind of wedding mercenary. Every few minutes, she'd clap her hands and yell out, "Let's do use the family for this one." And he'd step back, because that's what you do, right? At first, it didn't bother me. There were a lot of people, extended cousins, bridesmaids, in-laws. So when she called for just family, I figured, okay, they restarting with immediate family. Then it happened again. And again. A group sat here, a smiling cluster there. Every teammate stood up, walked away, smiled like he wasn't wanting to be included. And after a while, he stopped smiling. It was maybe an hour into photos when he realized he hadn't been in a single one. Not one. Not even a candid. He showed the photographer take individual portraits of Hannah's college roommates. He showed Matt's second cousin in 3 group shots. The dog, yes, the couple's golden retriever in a tuxedo, got more camera time than me. The worst part? No one noticed. Not my mom. Not my dad. Not even Hannah. He stood near the edge of the crowd, holding a sweating glass of iced tea, waiting to be told, Drew, open. But it never came. Then the photographer said it again. Used family for this one, please. And my body moved before my brain did. He stepped back, like it was instinct, like it was the most natural thing in the world. But this time, something inside me cracked open a little. He watched the group assemble. My mom looked her arm around Matt's dad. My dad straightened his tie. Hannah fixed her ball and laughed at something someone said. No one turned around. No one looked for me. He didn't cry. He didn't make a scene. He just stood there for a moment longer, then walked around the back of the barn, past the catering vans, and left through the side door. No one stopped me. No one called my name. He sat in my car for 20 minutes before driving home. Not angry. Just hollow. Like he didn't exist. And then 2 days later, this morning, my phone started blowing up. Missed calls, voicemails, a flurry of texts from my mom, from Hannah, from a couple of extended relatives. The tone of the messages started polite. Hey, where did you disappear to? But quickly turned sharp. Accusatory. Apparently, he ruined some very important moments. Apparently, Hannah noticed he was missing from every photo. Apparently, it reflected badly on the family when people started asking where the bride's brother was. And apparently I'm selfish for leaving without saying goodbye. But here's the thing. They didn't notice he was gone until the photos were developed. And now they want to know why. He haven't responded yet, but he will. The unread messages kept piling up. I set my phone face down on the kitchen tablet, let it vibrate like a guilty conscience, and stared at the coffee he hadn't touched. There was something about the way the group chat kept lighting up that felt performative, like they weren't messaging me out of genuine concern, but because not messaging me would look bad to someone else. I finally flipped the phone over around none and started reading. Mom, Drew, everyone is wondering where you went. Hannah's upset. Then 5 minutes later, Mom, not cool to ghost your own sister's wedding. People noticed. And 10 messages from Hannah in a row. No, hey. No, are you okay? Just, you left. Seriously? You couldn't have told anyone? I can't believe you made it about you. You embarrassed Mom. You re not even in the family photos. You know we get asked why. You re so selfish sometimes. It's unreal. You ruined what should have been the happiest day of my life. Don't bother texting back. I didn't. Not that day, not the next. I muted the thread, blocked notifications, and stayed off social media. But he still showed the damage. My cousin had tagged me in a photo from the wedding with the caption, wish everyone could have stayed for the whole night. Followed by a crying, laughing emoji. Subtle. Another tagged group photo didn't include me at all. One of the comments underneath read, what, where is Drew? Don't live nearby. And someone, probably one of Matt's side, replied, oh, he heard they had to leave early for work or something. That Lee sat there like a paper towel over a broken plate. He could have corrected it. He didn't. 3 days later, he got a call from Dad. He let it go to voicemail. His message was calm, even measured. Hey Beude, we're all a little confused about what happened. It's not like you to disappear like that. Hannah's head. Let's talk. Okay? But there was no, are you okay? Not once. And the truth was, he wasn't okay. That night, he dug out an old photo album Mom had made back when we still did printouts, the kind with the sticky pages and plastic covers. He flipped through birthdays, school plus, trips to the lake. And he started noticing a pattern he hadn't seen when he was younger. In group chats, he was often on the edge, sometimes cut off entirely. In pictures of Hannah's big life events, her sweet 16, her prom send-off, her college move-in, he was either barely visible or not there at all. There was even a shot of our family at her school graduation where they all grouped tightly around her in front of the banner, and he was standing off to the side, squinting into the sun, crabbed halfway out. Ide always chalked it up to coincidence or bad luck with Angles, but now it looked deliberate, or if not deliberate, then used habitual, like it wasn't really factored in. The following weekend, he got a formal thank you card in the mail. You know, the kind, preprinted, generic font, maybe a little glitter. It was from Hannah and Matt. Inside was a typed message, thank you for joining us on our special day. Your presence meant so much. And then in blue ink, Hannah had scribbled, even though you left early, hope you're happy. That's when something broke. He wasn't angry yet. Not the hot kind of anger that wants to scream or throw something. It was colder than that. Heavier. Like he was realizing all at once that this thing I'd been doing my whole life, trying to stay useful, stay quiet, be the easy one, about me exactly nothing. No loyalty, no consideration, no inclusion. And then came the dinner. My parents invited me over the next Sunday, calling it a post-wedding decompress. I hesitated, but part of me hoped they'd use it as a chance to clear the air, maybe even apologize. I should have known better. When he walked into the house, everything looked the same as it always had. Familiar furniture, same frame photos on the wall, same smell of lemon cleaner and pot roast. Hannah and Matt were already there. She didn't look at me when he walked in. Didn't say hi. Matt gave me a tight nod and went back to sipping his beer. Dinner was fine. Surface-level conversation, some awkward silences. They talked about their honeymoon plans, an all-inclusive resort in Cancun, countless messages, ziplining. Y asked a question or two, mostly used to keep things moving. Then dessert came. Mom brought out her famous lemon cake, set it down, and said, now that we're all together, we just want to say something. Hannah crossed her arms. Matt sat back in his chair. That cleared his throat. Drew, we were a little surprised by how you handled the wedding. Here it was. Mom cut in. I know it's not like you to cause a scene, which is why we're struggling to understand why you'd walk out like that. He looked at them. You mean when he realized he hadn't been in a single photo. Hannah scoffed. So, this is about pictures. No, he said, trying to keep my voice even. It's about what the pictures represent. Dad'll up a hand. Let's not get dramatic. Dramatic. He repeated. You all literally didn't notice he was gone until the photographer finished editing. That's not true, Mom said quickly. We noticed, but we assumed you were mingling or helping with something. You tend to keep to yourself, because no one includes me. He said, sharper now. There was a pause. Hannah jumped in. You could have spoken up. You could have said something. Instead, you made me look like a jerk at my own wedding. He blinked. You think he did this to embarrass you? You left without a word, she snapped. People asked me where my brother was. You made it awkward. You made me look bad. There it was. That phrase again. You made me look bad. Mom said like she was the victim here. Honey, we reused saying it's a little unfair to blame us for a misunderstanding. No, he said, standing up slowly. That's not fair is spending your entire life trying to be invisible, only to find out everyone is perfectly fine with you staying that way. He walked out again, but this time, he didn't feel hollow. He felt clear. And that night, he opened a blank document on my laptop and started writing down everything. Every slide, every memory, every time he'd been asked to take the photo instead of being in it, every family event where he got the folding chair at the kids' table, every moment he'd laughed off or swallowed because he was done swallowing. He didn't know yet what he was going to do with it, but something was shifting. Quietly. Steadily. And then 4 days later, he got the final push. An email from the wedding photographer. The subject line read, Final album, Hannah and Matt. The body of the email had a Dropbox link and a note. Hi Al, so lovely working with you. Here are the final images. Feel free to download and share. Let me know if anyone needs edits. He almost deleted it, but something made me click. There were over 300 photos in the album, group shots, table setups, first dance, cake cutting. He scrolled, searched for a glimpse of myself. There was one. One photo. He wasn't in it. He'd taken it. It was a blurry candid of Hannah laughing with Matt. Snapped during cocktail hour. The metadata showed it was from my phone. The photographer must have scrapped it from the shared album the guests had contributed to. That was it. That was the only trace he existed. That's when he made a decision. Not a petty one. Not impulsive. But one who would land hard, and they'd never see it coming. I didn't talk to my family for the next 6 weeks. Not a word. No calls, no mensajes, no passive-aggressive likes on Instagram. I deleted the group chat. I archived the wedding email. I muted everyone involved on social media so I wouldn't have to see another boomerang of champagne clinks or another photo of Hannah and Matt on a beach with captions like, "Just married, just vibing." I didn't announce the silence. I just let it happen. Like putting down a bag you didn't realize was breaking your spine. The first few days were numb. I went through the motions, wake up, work, cook something, watch TV, sleep. I avoided mirrors. I didn't want to see that look I'd seen in myself before. The one that said, "Why weren't you an og?" That face had followed me since childhood, showing up quietly after report cards, birthdays, graduations, moments that should have been shared but were instead dimmed by someone else's spotlight. And I admit, the silence hit. I wanted to believe at least one person in my family would reach out, not to scold or understand what happened, but to actually ask how I was doing. But no one did. Not even Dad, who said to leave me little notes in my lunchbox when I was a kid. Not even Mom, who once cried when I sprained my wrist during a middle school tennis match. That version of them, warm, human, was either long gone or only ever shown to Hannah. The tipping point, surprisingly, wasn't some dramatic breakdown. It was a Tuesday, just a regular Tuesday. I was in line at a coffee shop, overheard someone being making plan about how their brother always got the last word in family arguments. And for some reason, I just laughed out loud. It startled me. I realized in that moment that I didn't miss the drama. I didn't miss the guilt. I didn't miss being the afterthought in someone else's story. I missed the idea of family, but not my family. And that difference, that distinction, it felt like stepping out of fog and into sunlight. That's when I started to make changes. The first was stupidly simple. I changed my phone background. That sounds trivial, but hear me out. For years, it had been a photo from my mom's birthday dinner. Hannah and I flanking her at the table, candles lit, cake mid-slice. I remembered feeling proud of that night, but now it looked tight. My smile was tight. My hand was cropped out. I replaced it with a picture I'd taken during a solo trip to the mountains last year. Fog rolling over ridges, untouched trees. I stared at that photo every time I unlocked my phone, and it reminded me that peace was possible, that I'd felt whole before, and I called again. The second thing I did was take time off work. I had 2 weeks of unused vacation saved up and no real plans. So, I planned nothing. Just let the days breathe. I reorganized my apartment, tossed old junk, digitized childhood photos, not for nostalgia, but to reclaim the narrative. I kept the ones I liked. Me building a computer at 14. Me with my first car. Me in the corner of Hannah's graduation. Yes, but smiling anyway. I framed 3 of them and put them on my desk. Not for anyone else. Just for me. Midway through that break, I signed up for something I'd been putting off for years, a storytelling workshop at the local library. Once a week, 10 strangers in folding chairs, learning how to tell true stories with clarity and emotional weight. It was terrifying, but also it felt like oxygen. The first night, we had to introduce ourselves with a 2-minute anecdote. Most people told silly stories, bad dates, lost luggage, awkward elevator moments. I didn't tell a story. I said my name, my hope, and that I was there to learn how to stop editing myself out of my own life. The instructor nodded. "That's a good start," she said. "Just say it like you mean it." So, I did. By week 3, I was telling a full story about the time I accidentally shorted out the power in our school computer lab trying to overclock a motherboard. People laughed. I laughed. One woman came up after and said, "You have a really calm way of speaking, but it still cuts through." I'd never heard that before. Around that same time, something strange started happening at work. I was a senior systems analyst, quiet, reliable, predictable. I wasn't the guy who spoke up in meetings. I was the guy people came to after the meetings to fix what was overlooked. But now, with this weird, quiet confidence building, I started asking questions. Not aggressively, just curiously. Why are we still using this tool when the new API is half the cost? What's the actual user feedback on this implementation? Is anyone tracking the downtime from this? At first, people looked surprised. Then they started nodding. My manager even looped me into a planning session for a Major Q3 rollout. It wasn't a promotion, but it was movement. Recognition. I wasn't invisible anymore. The week after that, I reconnected with someone I hadn't spoken to in years. My cousin Trevor. Is the black sheep of the extended family. Who said to be into punk bands and motorcycles. Dropped out of college to become a welder. The kind of guy our parents who said to call a bad influence. But Trevor had always been kind to me. He once taught me how to sip on gas when my car broke down. He sent him a message out of nowhere just asking how he was doing. He replied in 5 minutes. Holy crap, Drew. Thought you the gun of the grid. Want to grab a drink? We met at a low-key bar near the train station. Talked for 3 hours. He told me about his business, custom steel work for restaurants and breweries. He told him about the wedding fallout. When he finished, he just shook his head. Man, he said, they've always treated you like wallpaper. That hit harder than he expected, because he wasn't wrong. But then smiled. Screw him. You ever want to build something that lasts? Come to the shop. We make real stuff. No fake smiles. That stuck with me. He didn't take him up on the job offer, but he did start visiting his shop once a week. He used to watch, he used to remember what creation looked like. And all this time, through the weeks, the journaling, the quiet growth, he was still sitting on the thing, the idea, the response, that moment from the wedding when he realized he was harassed. The urge to do something about it and take away. But he wasn't rushing anymore. He was letting it simmer because he knew something now. Revenge don't always come from anger. Sometimes it comes from clarity. From knowing exactly what someone took from you and planning how to make them see it. Then one afternoon, as he was walking home from the library workshop, my phone lit up with a notification. New message from Mom. Used 4 words, family dinner this Sunday. No explanation, no apology, used the expectation that he'd show up. Like nothing happened. And for the first time, he didn't feel dread. He felt ready. But not to be who they expected. No, this team had a different role in mind. And they weren't going to like it. He didn't respond to the dinner invite right away. He let it hang there in my messages like a rusted fishing hook baited with false normalcy. In the past, he would have replied out of politeness. Out of obligation. He would have shown up out of some ancient guilt he couldn't name. But this time, he let it sit. 2 days passed. 10-3. Finally, late Thursday night, he replied, sure, I'll be there. No smiley face. No exclamation mark. Used a cold and clean sentence. What he didn't tell them was that he'd already started preparing something. Not a scene. He wasn't going to scream or flip the dinner table. That's not me. No, he wanted them to feel it. Slowly. Deeply. And unmistakably. He wanted them to realize what it's like when someone quiet decides to finally be heard. The setup started with a flash drive. He took every photo he had ever been cropped out of, family vacations, birthdays, holidays, and ran them through a facial recognition tool he built back in college. He created 2 categories, family acknowledged and Drew omitted. He compiled a side-by-side presentation. Nothing flashy, used 2 folders. In one, Hannah hugged at her prom. Mom cutting her cake with Dad's arm around her. Hannah's engagement dinner. All smiles, all curated. In the other folder, the raw truth, images where he was blurred in the background, cut out entirely, or my personal favorite, holding the camera. He renamed the folders, remembered, and forgotten. Then he added one final image at the end, a screenshot of Hannah's wedding photo album, the one he wasn't in, the final proof. But it wasn't used about photos. He also gathered audio. See, my mom has this habit. She records voice memos to herself. Grocery lists, ideas for dinner, reminders to text people, and for some reason, she sends a lot of them to our family group chat, not realizing half the time that says he'd send. Most of them were mundane, but a few were telling. One in particular stood out, don't bother asking Drew to help with decorations. Ella used to overcomplicate it or disappear into his laptop. She didn't say it with venom. It was worse, dismissively, like it was a chore, a burden to work around, like it was inconvenient background noise. He clipped that audio, added it to the flash drive, and titled the file, How You Speak When You Think I'm Not Listening. Then he made a list, not of people to confront, but of people to invite. See, he wasn't going to let Sunday be a one-on-one ambush. If they wanted a family dinner, he was going to give them one. So, he reached out to a few relatives they hadn't expected he'd still be in contact with. People on the fringes, the ones who they quietly drifted away from the main family gravity, like satellites falling out of orbit. Cousin Trevor was my first call. Obviously, he was in without hesitation. You want backup, he asked. Ella bring the good whiskey. Then he messaged Annalise, my dad's strange sister. We hadn't spoken in years, not after she moved to Portland and stopped coming to holidays. But she'd always been keen to me. He sent her a single message, there's a dinner Sunday. I think you want to be there. She replied, I always knew something was off. Text me the time. I didn't overinvite. Used for people. People who knew the dynamics. People who had seen the cracks. I told them I needed them there not to fight my battles, but to witness what was coming, and they understood. Then I spent Saturday night preparing the final piece. My own toast. Not a speech, not a rant. A toast written like it was from a different world. A world where I was respected, valued. A world they had never built for me, but one I had started to build for myself. I rehearsed it once, used once. Then I closed my laptop and waited. Sunday arrived, overcast and quiet. I drove to my parents' house in my regular car, dressed in clean slacks and a charcoal button down. Not flashy, not forgettable, used present. When I walked in, the living room was exactly as I remembered it. Warm tones, the smell of roast chicken, a faint sound of piano music playing from Mom's ancient Bluetooth speaker. Hannah was on the couch with Matt, legs tucked under her like she owned the room. Dad was at the kitchen counter uncorking wine. Mom was checking the oven. For a moment, it looked so normal it almost tricked me. Almost. You made it, Dad said with forced cheer. I nodded. I did. Good, Mom said, not looking up. We've got so much to catch up on. He smiled faintly. I'm sure. He handed her a small box wrapped in simple paper. For the table, he said. She looked surprised. What's this? Place cards, he said. With names. She blinked. You made place cards. He nodded. It helps people feel included. Her face twitched, but she said nothing. We sat down to dinner around 6. I there and with Trevor and Annalise to arrive 15 minutes late, used enough to be noticed. And right on schedule, the doorbell rang. Oh, Mom said, startled. Were we expecting anyone else? I stood. I invited a few guests. Thought it might be nice to widen the circle. Before anyone could argue, I opened the door and let them in. Trevor entered first, casual as always, in a denim jacket and boots. Behind him came Annalise in a sharp maroon blazer and a look that could cut glass. Then came Sira, my second cousin, the quiet one who said to read books under the table at Thanksgiving. She hadn't been to a family gathering in 3 years. Hannah's eyes narrowed. What is this? A family dinner? He said thought we could use a full table. To their credit, my parents said nothing, but their chant used slightly. Dinner was stilted at first. Small talk, polite chewing. Betty watched the way Mom kept glancing at the place cards. The way Hannah kept checking her phone like she was waiting for a lifeline. Matt barely touched his food. Then, somewhere between the main course and dessert, he stood up. Before dessert, he said, raising my glass. He wanted to say something. 8 heads turned. I wasn't sure he was going to come tonight, I began. Not because I'm angry. I'm not. I've moved past that. But because I didn't think it'd be missed. A few people shifted in their chairs. I spent most of my life believing that staying quiet made me easier to love. That if I didn't ask for much, didn't take up space, I'd be included by default. But that's not how inclusion works. That's not how love works. Hannah rolled her eyes, but Annalise leaned forward. I brought something, he said, pulling the flash drive from my pocket. Some memories. Some evidence, if you will. A little slideshow I've been working on. Mom looked nervous. Drew, this isn't the time. It's exactly the time, he said calmly. Because for the first time in years, I'm at the table, and I'm speaking. He placed the flash drive on the table like a stone in a pan. Trevor raised his glass to speaking. Sira echoed him to being seen. And he just stood there, letting the silence expand because this was the setup, the opening move, and the rest was coming. He didn't play the slideshow at dinner. He didn't need to. The flash drive just sat there in the center of the table, glinting under the chandelier. A little silver rectangle of pressure. Nobody dared touch it. Nobody even breathed too loudly. He could see their minds racing, trying to figure out what was on it. What he had. Whether they'd forgotten something they'd said years ago that might now come back to bite them. He wanted that silence. He wanted that scream. Dessert? Mom asked eventually, her voice an octave higher than usual, but no one moved. Trevor broke the tension with a low chuckle and reached across to slide the flash drive toward himself. I think he'd take a peek at this later, he said, packeting it. Always did love a good story. He sat down and picked up my fork. And that's how the first half of my revenge landed. Not loud, not vengeful, but clean, surgical, letting them know he had receipts, he had eyes, and he had stopped being polite. But the second half? That came later. Over the next week, a slow unraveling began. Not because he forced it, but because the truth, once acknowledged, starts to spread on its own. It began with Ira. She posted a photo from that dinner, a casual snap she'd taken when the table was full. Everyone made laughter. In the caption, she wrote, "Sometimes it takes an outsider to remind a family was being invisible all alone." She didn't tag anyone. She didn't have to. People saw it. They knew. Then Annalise posted her own photo, an old one. Me at 13, sitting on the back porch with a soldering iron in one hand, a off-wheeled circuit board in the other. She'd taken it back when I was obsessed with building my own gadgets. The caption said, "They always underestimated him. Not anymore." That post blew up more than I expected. Distant family started commenting. People since middle school reached out. Some even apologized. I never realized how excluded you were. I'm sorry I didn't say anything. And in the group text Hannah had previously kicked me out of that finally imploded. I got screenshots. Apparently Hannah went on a rant the night after dinner. Called the whole thing manipulative. Accused me of trying to publicly shame the family and said he was always jealous of her. Mom tried to defend her, but her tone was shaky. You could tell from the texts. Dad stayed mostly quiet, probably realizing that silence was no longer neutral. But there is the twist. A few people didn't back her up. Annalise was still in the group, and she called her out directly. You got caught treating your brother like it was furniture, she wrote. If you're embarrassed, that's on you. Sarah backed her. Then came a string of people leaving the chat. I didn't say a word because I wasn't done yet. See, this whole team had also been quietly preparing a talk. That storytelling workshop, the one I started attending weeks earlier, they were hosting a local showcase night open to the public with an audience of about 80 people. I signed up. My story, How to Become a Ghost, a Family Guide. I spent 2 weeks polishing it. No names, no specific references, used the emotional truth. It told the story of a boy who was always there, always helpful, always silent. A boy who took the family photos but was never in them. A boy who finally walked away, not in anger, but in clarity. The night of the performance, I stood in front of a room full of strangers and told my story. Voice steady, no bitterness, used truth. The air in that room shifted. There were gasps in the right places. Quiet nods. A few people cried. Afterward, someone from a local podcast approached me. Do you want to share that on our platform? They asked. I agreed. It went viral. Not overnight, but fast enough. People related to it, commented in droves. Reddit threads started popping up about the invisible sibling. Stories poured in from others who lived the same dynamic. It wasn't just my story anymore. It was everyone's. Hannah messaged me after it aired. Her text read, "Why are you trying to ruin me?" I stared at that message for a full minute. Then he replied, "I didn't name you. Maybe ask yourself why it feels like he did." She didn't respond. Later, I heard through a cousin that things were tense at home. Hannah had apparently been trying to launch a lifestyle blog, curated family moments, aesthetic shots of branches, candles, wedding tips. But now the comments on her post were filled with people asking if she was the one from that podcast story. Someone even posted the quote from Annalise's post underneath one of her flat life photos, "They always underestimated him. Not anymore." Her follower count plummeted. Meanwhile, I got invited to tell my story again. Then again. Once at a university event, once at a non-profit fundraiser for sibling estrangement support groups. And every time I stood up there, I was calm, measured, honest. I never stooped to name names. I never got angry. But I let the truth do its work. As for my parents, they tried reaching out a few times. Stiff calls, short emails, offers to get coffee and talk things through, but I wasn't interested in talking through anything. They weren't looking to understand. They were looking to patch over. I declined politely. Then one day, I got a package from my mom. No note, just a photo album. One of the old ones. Inside, I found every photo I'd once been cropped out of, restored. She had printed new versions, recentered, reframed. Some were grainy, clearly pulled from backups or old negatives. Others had visible edits trying to recreate what had been cut out. At the very back was a new photo from the family dinner. Me standing me toast, headache, eyes clear. It was captioned in her handwriting, "We see you now." I didn't reply. I didn't need to, because the real revenge wasn't ruining their image. It was reclaiming mine. And when I walked past the mirror that night, for the first time in years, I didn't look like a background character. I looked like the main one. I smiled and I didn't step out of the frame. "So, what do you think?" Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? What did you do to finally make yourself seen? Let me know in the comments below.